Homily for the second Sunday of Easter, Year C. My Lord and my God. Our readings for this Sunday are taken from Acts chapter 5, verse 2 to 16, Revelation chapter 1, verse 1 to 11, and 12 to 13, 17 to 19, and John's Gospel, chapter 20, verse 19 to 31. All our religious activities ought to bring us to the point where we have a physical encounter with the Lord. They are meant to bring us to the point where we exclaim in awe and worship with Thomas, my Lord and my God. This is what the resurrection and appearances of Jesus was for the weak, frightened, and disillusioned disciples. It was for them a spectacular moment of divine encounter. The doors were closed where the disciples were for fear of the Jews, and Jesus emerged in their midst for the first time after his resurrection. Thomas was not with them when they first saw him. He suffered an extra week of distress on account of the death of Jesus. His companions' efforts to get him out of his misery proved abortive when he insisted, "Unless I put my finger into his wound and put my hands on his side where the lance went, I will not believe." So he was still mourning while others were already rejoicing. Then Jesus appeared in their midst a second time with Thomas present. And after saying, "Peace be with you," he turned to Thomas and said, "Thomas, put your finger here. Look, here are my hands. Doubt no longer, but believe." It is striking to note that we are not told that Thomas eventually put his finger there. Perhaps once he saw Jesus, it was no longer necessary. All we are told is that Thomas immediately went on his knees and said, "My Lord and my God." Jesus' response to the sudden devotion of Thomas was, "You believe because you have seen me. Happy are those who have not seen and yet believe." John 20:29. This is a very significant verse because all of us, including St. Paul, who never met Jesus physically, benefit from this declaration, and it authenticates the assertion that faith is believing things not seen. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 1. If you can see, touch, or feel a thing, then it is no more a matter of faith. So when Thomas says, "Unless I see, unless I touch," it sounds reasonable and logical, as human beings are always curious and want material evidence. Unfortunately, many who claim to be believers are still at this point where they are constantly seeking for material evidence or proof in what is supposed to be a matter of faith. There are dimensions of reality which elude the physical senses, but which are nevertheless real. It is not limited to the material world. This is what Antoine de Saint-Exupéry means when he writes in The Little Prince that it's only with the heart that one can see rightly, for what is essential is invisible to the eye. Thomas soon discovered the stupidity of his ways. He soon discovered that he could not impose his limited human conditions on God. He had lost 1 week of joyful life in his doubt, grief, and isolation. On meeting with Jesus, however, he cried out in worship, "My Lord and my God." Thomas's cry of faith became the most powerful proclamation of the identity of Jesus. In the Catholic Church, when we raise the consecrated body of Jesus, we echo the words of Thomas, "My Lord and my God." This is how God turns things around. He has taken the words of a disbelieving man and etched them in gold. Thomas moved in one instance from earthly seeing to spiritual believing. He is one of the examples of the fact that when one encounters the risen Christ, one is not the same again. All Christians ought therefore to be constantly seeking an encounter with the Lord. Perhaps part of the reason many people are not able to give credible witness to Christ is that they have not had the privilege of such an encounter with the risen Lord as Thomas had. When Thomas encountered Jesus, his fears vanished, his doubts disappeared. A new fire was lit in him, and he was instantly healed of his blindness. He suddenly recognized his need to be filled by God's surprising ways rather than insist that God meets his own conditions. But our God is so merciful that he waits for us to truly discover him and is ever ready to say to us, "Peace be with you." After the powerful encounter, Thomas was energized to go out and spread the good news. Legend has it that Thomas went as far as India with the gospel of Christ and that he was martyred there. Like the doubting Thomas, many of us are often not there when Jesus comes by. It will be interesting to know where Thomas was for a whole week after the others had seen the risen Lord. The other 10 disciples locked themselves up in the upper room, and at the appearance of Jesus, they were consoled and overjoyed, while Thomas remained in mourning and he refused to be consoled. Thomas separated himself from the community and lost joy for 1 week. Like Thomas, many of us insist that God must behave only in ways that fit our expectations. Like Thomas, many of us refuse to go deeper to savor the mysterious ways of God. We remain on the superficial level of material proofs for God's presence. Sadly, if we remain on this level, we will never savor what St. Paul refers to as the mystery hidden from ages that has now been revealed. It was faith that saw a virgin conceive the Son of God. Faith saw the crucified one bounce back to life. Faith turned the early Christians from frightened disciples into bold and courageous martyrs of the faith. By faith, the mighty can be pulled down and the lowly raised up. By faith, water can be changed into wine, and wine can be changed into the blood of Christ. By faith, 5 loaves can be multiplied to feed 5,000. By faith, desperate situations can be overturned, and dead ends can become highways. By faith, the early Christians went far beyond where their human abilities could carry them, and their activities changed the course of human history. Christians hold that all appearances to the contrary notwithstanding, light will outshine darkness, truth will conquer falsehood, good will overcome evil, love will triumph over hate, the stone can be rolled away, and sinners can rise from the ashes of shame. By faith, the mountains of selfishness and greed shall be removed, and the hills of corruption and indiscipline shall be leveled. Hatred and vengeance shall be removed, and religious extremism and terrorism shall be destroyed. By faith, the multiple crises of leadership and politics, and the many challenges with marriage and family in the modern world shall be resolved. Faith takes us where our senses cannot go. Believing is much more than accepting something as real. It is developing the spiritual faculty to perceive the invisible reality of the heart at the heart of all things. Yes, believing enables us to see beyond physical sight. John chapter 6 verse 40 and John chapter 9 verse 35 to 39. The apostles had the privilege of seeing Jesus physically. But those who know Jesus through believing are equal to the apostles who knew him by sight. The world is full of doubting Thomases. Many people will not believe unless they can touch Jesus' wounds and see the radiance of his face. But people can touch Christ's wounds and see the radiance of his face if Christ is alive and active in us. Pope Paul VI said, the men and women of today are not looking for more teachers but witnesses. And if they will listen to any teachers at all, it is because those teachers are also witnesses. There are too many teachers and churches all over the place today, but what the world is looking for are those who give witness to Jesus. Now, before leaving his disciples to face his suffering and death, Jesus spoke words of peace to his disciples. Peace I bequeath to you, my own peace I give you, the peace the world cannot give, this is my gift to you. Do not let your hearts be troubled. John 14:27. As Jesus appeared to his frightened and disillusioned disciples at various times in the various locations, his first words were, peace be with you. Do not be afraid. It is I. These are the same words he said to John in the island of Patmos. As he appeared to Peter, who denied him, and as he met the disciples who deserted him, he also uttered those consoling words, peace be with you. In John 20:19-29, he repeated those gracious words 3 times. Jesus' assurance of peace came at the disciples' greatest hour of need, when for them all seemed to have ended in defeat and humiliation. These same words are a great source of hope for all believers who are suffering defeat and humiliation. He assures them of peace. Jesus' words are a great source of hope for all of us at our greatest moment of need. Even today and always, he is around to say to us, peace be with you. Those who take the words of Jesus seriously can claim his peace amid tension and turmoil as they are confronted by tragic circumstances or as they experience failure and disappointment. As Jesus rose from the dead, he bore an olive branch announcing the defeat of Satan and the realization in himself of God's promise of peace. So the real peace which every human heart longs for, the true peace which families need, is now available in the risen Lord. Indeed, the lasting peace which has been the preoccupation of genuine leaders in every age is now available in the risen Christ. Let us come to him to receive that peace. God bless you.